Lyndhurst Mansion, 1838, begins on the quiet banks of the Hudson River in Tarrytown, New York, where in 1838 former New York City Mayor William Paulding Jr. commissioned a Gothic Revival country house called Knoll, a romantic retreat meant to reflect refinement and intellect. Yet from its earliest days the estate carried an uneasy atmosphere shaped by ambition, secrecy, and loss. Because the very land it stood on had already witnessed centuries of displacement, colonial conflict, and Revolutionary War tensions, embedding a sense of unrest long before stone touched soil, and when the property later passed to merchant George Merritt, the house was dramatically expanded and renamed Lindenhurst, later simplified to Lyndhurst, transforming it into one of America's finest Gothic mansions but also into a place where grandeur demanded relentless labor, dangerous construction practices, and silent suffering from workers who carved stone, raised towers, and installed massive windows. High above the Hudson Cliffs, with reports of falls, injuries, and sudden illnesses quietly absorbed into the estate's history without public acknowledgement, the mansion reached its most famous and darkest era under Jay Gould, the ruthless railroad tycoon who purchased Lyndhurst in 1880, a man widely regarded as one of the most feared and despised figures of the Gilded Age, whose business practices ruined competitors, destabilized markets, and devastated countless livelihoods, earning him the reputation of a financial predator. And it was during Gould's residence that Lyndhurst became not just a home but a fortress of strategy and secrecy, where critical railroad decisions, stock manipulations, and power plays were planned behind closed doors while armed guards reportedly patrolled the grounds and access was tightly controlled, creating an atmosphere of constant tension, suspicion, and paranoia. Servants later described Gould as reclusive and watchful, often working late into the night, pacing corridors, and summoning aides at odd hours, while the mansion itself seemed to mirror his temperament, cold, imposing, and shadow-filled, with its pointed arches, narrow staircases, and towering rooms amplifying footsteps and whispers into unsettling echoes that made even seasoned staff uneasy. Numerous incidents during Gould's tenure added to Lyndhurst's dark legend, including sudden firings of servants accused of disloyalty, heated arguments that echoed through halls, and unexplained nocturnal disturbances such as doors opening on their own, lights appearing in unused rooms, and the sound of movement in empty wings, events that some dismissed as paranoia while others believed the house itself had become charged with the anxiety and moral weight of Gould's actions. When Jay Gould died in 1892, one of the wealthiest men in the world yet deeply unpopular, his death marked a strange stillness over Lyndhurst, as if the mansion had lost its animating force, but the darkness did not lift, because the estate passed to his children, including Helen Gould, who attempted to soften its image through philanthropy while still living under the shadow of their father's legacy, a legacy that lingered in the form of guarded rooms, locked cabinets, and a pervasive sense of caution that never fully disappeared. Throughout the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Lyndhurst accumulated reports of eerie phenomena, including servants hearing footsteps on staircases leading nowhere, sudden cold drafts near the mansion's towers, and sightings of shadowy figures near the river-facing windows at dusk, incidents often attributed to the building's Gothic design and acoustics, yet persistent enough to become part of local folklore. The mansion's isolation further intensified its reputation, as fog from the Hudson would roll in unexpectedly, cloaking the towers and turning the estate into a silhouette of stone and shadow, while storms battered its cliffs, occasionally causing structural damage and near-miss accidents during repairs, reinforcing the sense that Lyndhurst existed in constant negotiation with natural forces as well as human ambition. During periods when the mansion stood partially unoccupied, caretakers reported an overwhelming sense of presence, describing the house as watching, with doors creaking open, windows rattling in still air, and the impression that the mansion resisted silence, as though it remembered every conversation, argument, and secret planned within its walls. Beyond ghosts or legends, the true darkness of Lyndhurst lies in its role as a silent witness to unchecked power, where immense wealth was accumulated through methods that harmed countless unseen lives, and the mansion became both a refuge and a symbol of that power, standing beautiful and serene while echoing with the moral cost of Gilded Age capitalism. Today, as Lyndhurst Mansion operates as a historic site and museum, visitors admire its architecture, landscape, and views of the Hudson, yet many report an inexplicable heaviness in certain rooms, a lingering chill in corridors, and a sense that the house is more than a preserved relic, that it is a structure shaped by the ambitions, fears, and ethical compromises of those who lived there, making Lyndhurst not merely a Gothic masterpiece but a monument to the darker side of American progress, where elegance coexists with exploitation, silence hides conflict, and the past never fully loosens its grip, ensuring that even in daylight, the mansion carries the quiet, persistent weight of secrets that were never meant to be spoken aloud. During the original construction and later expansions under George Merritt, workers labored on high Gothic towers and steep river-facing cliffs. Several workers were injured in falls from scaffolding, and at least one fatal accident is mentioned in local records, though details were quietly buried. These incidents gave Lyndhurst an early reputation as a dangerous worksite. While Jay Gould owned Lyndhurst, the mansion became a center for clandestine railroad strategy meetings. Financial manipulations and hostile takeovers were planned behind closed doors. Servants reported being abruptly dismissed from rooms and corridors during these meetings, creating an atmosphere of secrecy and fear. Gould reportedly employed armed guards to patrol the estate due to death threats and intense public hatred. Visitors and staff described the unsettling experience of encountering guards at night, reinforcing the mansion's image as a fortified stronghold rather than a home. Multiple servants were dismissed without explanation during Gould's residence, often accused of disloyalty or gossip. These abrupt firings became infamous among local workers and fueled rumors of paranoia and surveillance within the mansion. Caretakers and staff reported hearing footsteps, doors opening, and lights appearing in unused rooms at night. These incidents were most frequently reported in tower staircases and along the river-facing corridors. After Gould's death, staff described an immediate change in atmosphere. Construction and modifications halted, rooms were closed, and the mansion fell unnaturally silent. Some claimed clocks stopped and lights flickered during the night of his death, though these accounts remain anecdotal. Visitors and staff over decades have reported shadowy figures near upper windows and along the grounds at dusk, often attributed to the mansion's Gothic architecture and lighting but persistent enough to become part of local legend.